8, now it's up to 10. All you that you are was formed before you were 10 years old, honey. Your sense of loving, your sense of yourself, your sense of values, your sense of even religion, or spirituality, your sense of how you do things, your intellect. You know that if you talk to a baby from birth to 3 years of age all the time and read them stories and stuff, you increase their intelligence by 80% and their learning abilities. But by the time you're 10, all those are formed. Your sense of abandonment was formed well before you were 10 years old. Because it's not that they were bad people, it's that you didn't get enough of what you needed from them. And I don't think that either of your father figures really knew how to deal with little girls. And that's why most little girls become tomboys around their father figures, because it's a way to be with them. Does that make sense? You know, it's a sad thing, but that is one of the major scenarios. So if we don't have a scenario, we don't live. Mine is extreme abuse. My scenario has been extreme abuse, physical, mental, sexual, emotional, and it's extreme. By the time I was 5 years old, my father tried to kill my mother, my two sisters, my grandmother, and then kidnap me. You know, he was very extremely violent. Then my mother got violent. And the last time she hit me, I was 33. Well, good Catholic girl, you know. So, besides, she was 5'9". Scared the heck out of me. Long red claw nails, you know. Until she hit me in front of my babies. And then I got serious. And I told her, I said, you ever hit me in front of my children again, I'll kill you. And I said, just like that. And I didn't yell. I'm not a screamer. She looked at me, went back in the house, and never hit me again. Because my babies were frightened. And that's the one thing I can't handle, is people who have so much fear. I'll do anything to take away people's fear, because that's what I have. All that violence, there was never a place to hide. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, but the thing is you didn't get what you needed from your father figure. You didn't get all that communication and emotion and all this stuff because you didn't have enough time with them, number one. And number two, I don't get they knew how to deal with little girls so well. It's kind of a little confusing for men because they're very practical and logical. If you bat around a ball or something with a boy, they figure that's all you need. They do physical things with their sons. But with little girls, it's like, you know, different, you know, so, and I don't think most fathers know what to do with little girls. I really don't. I think they're even afraid of holding them at birth, you know, because they seem fragile. And even though you're not, you seem to be as a little girl. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what that creates for you, and by the way, if you don't have a scenario, you don't live. Okay, a scenario is basically like if you're in a play like Peter Pan, it's the dressing, it's the, you know, if you don't have like a Neverland or a boat for Captain Hook on the play, and you don't have a green little suited guy flying through the air, and you don't have a Tinkerbell, how would you know what the play was about? Okay, that's the same thing with the scenario. You create your life lessons, profound life lessons through your scenario. So you will have a problem with abandoning anybody. It will take you a long time, even if a friend is obnoxious to you, and even if a friend had sex with your mate, you would have a hard time. You'd be really mad, but you'd have a hard time letting it go. Does that make sense? Okay, so abandonment issues lead to a fear of failure, because fear of failure leads to rejection, rejection leads to abandonment. So I have never met one intellectual soul especially who has not had a perfectionist streak a mile long. And it is one of your worst faults because it leads to disease. And, you know, that's sad. I had 107 clients in my clientele up here in Placerville one year. Some as young as 20, half of them were vegetarians. They looked like her. Thin, fit, you know. They didn't put beef in their mouth, but maybe the ones who did eat meat, maybe once a week, but they usually did chicken or fish. They took vitamins. They did everything to keep, they did exercises, not a chubby in the bunch. And all of them had female cancer, and all of them had breast cancer. And so I'm a nosy person. I just have to know why.
Is this a point that we're going to get cancer?
You could.
I actually have a family history of
especially you.
Cancer, yeah.
Okay, I was just going to say especially you, but that's because You are so steeped in the idea that you're a caretaker that you keep doing this all the time, emotionally, giving of your heart, giving of your heart. You think you're a caretaker, but you're not. You're a teacher, advocate. She's an advocate teacher, which is interesting. You're like mirror images, okay? And I'll tell you what that is in a minute. But you have the potential. I believe with all my heart, you have a 35% chance at this moment. You're around 27%. Okay. Do you have a grandma who died? She's with you. She just showed up. Come over here for a second. Okay. Think of your grandmother again. Do you see that white outline that goes around her? If you look not at the outline but straight to the wall, you'll see kind of a white outline, and it goes on and off. And it's a little gold now up by her head. Yeah, just kind of look off to the wall. You'll see it. Practice it, because I've taught so many people how to see spirit. But have you been thinking about your grandmother lately?
A little bit, but
Okay.
I didn't know her much.
Well, honey, what it is like a telephone call. Did you wish you got to know her more?
Well, yeah.
Okay. She's here because of that. If you think about anybody, if you think about little Susie, your dog, or your cat, or a loved one, a grandparent, or a friend, the minute you think about them, it's going, bring, bring, I need to talk to you. It's like a telephone call on the other side. And I'm a medium, but I always call myself a long distance telephone operator because I can hear them and sometimes see them. Sometimes they like to come in. Oh, there she is again. You can actually see a head up there. It's almost whitish. Now, see, the problem is it blinks on and off, so it's really cool. Okay, it's off now. It'll show up again. But she's got her hand on your shoulder. Can you tell me which shoulder?
Oh, God.
I don't want to give it away. Can you tell me which? So put your hand up on your shoulder. You got both hands. How'd you know that?
I don't know.
I thought you'd only do one hand. She put both of her hands on your shoulder. See, people don't realize they could. I gotta take these off. My earballs are hurting. Okay. People don't realize they can feel spirit, but they can. And I'm kind of sadistic because in my office over in Placerville, I used to sit and watch the spirit came in before I told them, and they'd be listening just like you do, and they go, "Is there a fly in here?" And they'll go like this, or like this their hair, And you both have been doing that since Grandma's been here. Okay, but it's funny because her hair is even going outwards now. See how that piece of hair is starting to fly out that way? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because what they do is they love to go like this, and they love to touch your hair. They love to play with your hair. They'll do this, and now see, look, the hair's going up. See how it's going up further on that side? If you look over here, you can see the hair starting to go up. That was totally flat because I watch those things. I think it's really cool to see spirit playing with somebody, but now they're, oh gosh, I don't know if you can see the line going straight up, but it's blue, dark blue. Oh, it blinks on and off. That's hard. Yeah. Well, you can
Let's straighten
practice
it.
it.
I'm just kidding.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah, you do. You just haven't practiced it. Let me ask you a question. When you rode a bicycle, first time, with training wheels even.
Do I remember? No.
No, but of course you wouldn't. You're an intellectual soul. I remember till I was 2. I have memory. Okay, but when you started on a bicycle, did you fall? A 2-wheel bicycle?
A bicycle? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, how'd you get better?
You get back up and you do it.
No, you practice. Okay.
Put those
So when
training
the phone
wheels back
rings,
on.
just say, "That's so and so," and see how many times you're right. If you want to see spirit, it's really cool. Just get a deck of cards. Take all the jokers and all that junk out. Mix them up really good. Get a piece of paper and put a line down. Put red, black. And then pick up a card without looking at it and say really fast, red or black, and put it down on the line, where the red or the black. And then when you're finished, turn them all over and see how many got right. Within 6 weeks, if you do that 2 or 3 times a day, you'll be getting it almost all right. And that's everybody's born psychic. They call it intuitiveness, though. I was born totally psychic. I can't turn it off. I don't know how to turn it off. And it's sometimes really hard for me because everywhere I go, I hear people's thoughts, or I have spirits around me, or somebody says, "Oh no, tell her she's going to have an accident." This really freaks me. Or my guide will say that. So I've tried everything to turn it off so I could just be normal, once in a while. Because sometimes you do get tired and drained, but the thing is, you can practice it and do it if you want to connect. Okay? But it's just a way of practicing, so. But anyway, your grandma's going to be here. Are you with somebody right now? Are you wanting somebody right now?
Wow, you didn't tell me?
I don't think so, no.
Because within the next 3 years, you're going to find a person that's going to be really important to you. And she's here for that. She wants to help you. She just said that you don't do too well on your own. Could that be said for her friend, Granny?
Yeah.
Oh my, yes.
For me?
Yeah. You don't choose too well either for yourself. I mean, you choose, both of you, because you're advocates and because you're teacher souls, both of you have it like opposite. All right. That's why you make a great lawyer. If you became an advocate for the underprivileged, or for handicapped people, or for old people, you'd be exceptionally good, or victims of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you're basically a teacher soul with advocacy. She's an advocate with teacher honor. And teacher souls don't have to teach in a classroom. They can be in a bathroom. They can be in a produce section, and some little lady comes up to you and goes, my, look at all the vegetables. I can't afford them anymore. I just don't know where it's going to end. And someone like you two would say, have you ever heard of the senior gleaners? You could make new friends, and you could get free vegetables and fruit, and you could have companionship. That'd be so cool. There's a chapter here or a chapter there. You know what? What'll happen is that you'll change somebody's life without even thinking about it. Does that make sense? And both of you would do very well if you volunteered for CASA.
For CASA, what's that?
Mm-hmm. CASA is, and they've got one up here too, by the way. CASA is an organization that believes that children should have a mediator on their side in court cases, whether it be because they saw something, or a divorce case or something like that. And what you do, it's a volunteer organization, and you become a child's mediator. You become a person who speaks for the child. Two of you would be real good at it. I know it sounds odd, and it may not be something you want to do now, because how old are you?
20.
And how old are you?
20. She's turning 21 this month.
Okay, both of you are way too old for your age. Both of you need to start having a little fun. I don't think you know how to have fun. Does that make sense? And it doesn't mean drinking.
What gave you that idea?
Oh, I didn't notice that. See, I don't drink, so I never notice stuff like that. You know what? If I had to notice that, I would say, "Are you collecting pretty bottles?" Because that's what some people do. They collect bottles. But no, I never even noticed that. I noticed the books though.
Question: are you comfortable? Do you want another pillow?
No, I'm fine. Okay, so we're gonna go back to you now, okay? And now I'm gonna start my reading properly. Okay, so I know that sounds really odd. That's why I said you have to give me some time. Okay? Remember me saying that to you? Of course not. Okay. That's all right. Because I'm a life reader.
I remembered your friend's stories, and I remember Crystal and her brain years.
Well, that was so cool. She thought I was so wacko. And I said, you're going to be okay, but it's going to change your whole life and your thinking. And she told me when it was over, she said, Rosie, I told my friends here that you are one crazy lady. Because I said, excuse me, can I talk to you for a moment?
See, and that's funny, because I went in the back and I did the exact opposite, and I was raving about you.
Oh, well, if I came and said to you, honey, there's something wrong with your head, it's in your head, but I don't want you to be scared, because you're going to be okay, it's just going to change your life.
Yeah, we had a better start than even her.
But I know it sounds, but I was so panicked for her, and I just knew something was going to burst in that head. And it wasn't 2 weeks later that she started getting this horrible, horrible headache. And it was really weird. She said she remembered my voice in her head. And she immediately called her husband because the headache was getting so bad. And he rushed her to emergency. and she passed out at emergency, so they got her right in. And they said she was within 1 hour of, she had a brain aneurysm, and she was within 1 hour of it blowing up, and she would have died immediately. And so they had to operate within 1 hour of that. So she had another one. I said, Crystal, you need to go have your head checked again. You know, I felt so bad, but I didn't want her to die. And she had another operation, and she was feeling much better. But, you know, she said, you're right, changed my whole life. I don't worry about the stuff I used to worry about anymore. She said, I really don't care about things like I used to. She said, all I care about is my family and being happy and doing the best I can in my job. But, I mean, I just adored her. But she said, I really thought you were a crazy lady, Rosie. So then, you know, it was so funny. Back then, before the Indian casino was built, back then, it was a different attitude in Sizzler. And so all the kids would gather around me, and you know, especially when it wasn't busy, and they'd start asking me a question for each one. So we had a good time. I would stay at the Sizzler maybe 4 or 5 hours at times, you know, because people would come up and ask questions. And then the people who were eating there would hear over here, and then they'd start asking me questions. So it was kind of a big fun time for me. Kind of play. It was really cool.
Well,
but
it's a good
yeah.
thing you don't dislike people then.
Oh, I love people. Well, I don't know about it. The more I see of people in Sacramento, the more I love my dogs.
Oh.
Yeah, 'cause, oh my God, there's so much rage down there, so much anger. Ugh. Anyway, so I want you to give me your full given name. Hey, have you had migraines?
I don't know. I
Have
mean,
you had really bad headaches, like through here?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen spots or anything?
Oh.
Yeah, you have. Okay, because I just thought in my head, I don't think you know what's happening. When you have a really bad headache, do you have to go home and turn things off, like everything, noise?
I don't really pay attention because I work 2 jobs, so.
Yeah, well, honey,
generally
that
understand.
may be why you start having migraines, because I have a feeling you've already started that, and it's going to get worse if you don't take care of yourself. You know, you're not getting enough sleep. You're not going into deep REM sleep. I'm not even able to start my readings right yet because of this. Okay, you're not able to get into deep REM sleep much. Do you ever wake up during the night?
Mhm.
Yeah. Also, you're going to be very prone to urinary tract infections.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm already prone.
Yeah, well, it's going to get worse. So you might think seriously about looking into yeast problems, you know, such as breads and stuff like that, rice, white rice, things like that. But also, you might start keeping some of that. What is that stuff? You can buy it on over the counter now, and it's for yeast infections, but it creates a urinary tract infection. Starts with an M. I'll think about it sooner or later. But urinary tract too is you're not drinking enough water. Okay.
What? There's no way because I drink so much water.
How much do you drink?
Okay, this
A lot
past
more
week
than
I
the average
haven't
person.
really been.
You don't. You really think you? Okay, let's on a good week. How much do you think you drink? How
She
many
doesn't
glasses?
Five
drink
water
anything
bottles
but
a day.
water.
Okay, how much?
5 water bottles a day.
Do you know how much that is?
That's there's 16 ounces, so
How many ounces in a cup?
80
Yeah.
about.
Increase it maybe to 6-7 bottles a day, because urinary tract infections, the biggest situation with them is that it's not eating through your kidneys fast enough. It's not flushing out your kidneys. And you might switch over to some cranberry juice. Yeah, but you know,
good.
here's the thing. Do you want to go from urinary tract infections to kidney infections or bladder infections? That's in your MO. That's in your health issues coming up as you get older. Urinary tract, bladder, and kidney problems. Okay, so you can either drink a little cranberry juice. Now, I don't mean ocean spray, honey, because ocean spray
It's
is
good.
mostly sugar and it's very
That's what
little
you
cranberry juice.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So what you do you like raisins? Dried cranberries?
Yes.
Put them on your salad.
We just had some.
Okay, put them on your salad, because cranberries are a natural antibiotic. All right, but you have a very it's really interesting. You have a very fragile neck, a very fragile head, and very fragile, not reproductive so much, but urinary, kidney, and bladder. All right, those are going to be your main issues as you get older, like my age even, or in your 40s or 50s. You have to be very careful with your neck because you've got a very fragile neck, and so you always need to wear a seatbelt, sweetie. Always.
Always do.
Okay, because you can have your neck damaged from an accident at some point. You know,
Is
but
that you forcing me in an accident?
huh?
Is that you forcing me in an accident?
I'm saying that you have the
I get very
probability,
nervous. Like, okay.
but it's not going to kill you. I just think that if you're wearing a seatbelt, and you won't be at fault. So
Oh,
whenever
that's
it's
even better.
okay, but whenever it's raining, okay, or dark at night and raining, you slow down and you always look both ways before you come in. You know, from that road to this road or any road to another road. Okay? And I don't see it being now, I see it far off. So now you have time to get in the habit of looking both ways and slowing down when you're coming to where you turn into another road.
Now you telling me this, can I prevent it?
Yeah, I have
Or is
people
it-
who've done that. You know, I actually have people who write everything down and
Is
they
my
go
car
over
gonna
and
be
go over it.
totaled?
Huh?
Is
Oh
my
my
car
gosh.
gonna be totaled?
No.
So my car's
Okay.
safe.
But
Except for it still won't be paid off.
yeah, but if you have good insurance, they'll fix it. Yeah, but I don't see it for a long time. You may have children. You may have, you know, it might be in your 40s or 35. Because, see, I'm not seeing, but here's the thing that I tell people. You need to think seriously about practicing. Because if you don't, you'll be very forgetful and be in a hurry someday. And it'll happen. It won't be your fault. And it's like hitting the driver's side. Okay? So, why not practice it and hesitate? Learn to hesitate and look both ways and then look again and then go out. Does that make sense? Okay? I had one lady, her son was 14, and I went, oh my God. I never met her before. She was a new client, and I said, your son has got such a lead foot. I said, he's going to have the worst accident. And she said, my son's not even driving yet, Rosie, he's 14. And I said, your son is going to have the worst accident. He's got a lead foot. And I said, I'm going to tell you, within 6 months of him getting his license, he's going to have a major accident. And if he's not wearing a seatbelt, he's going to die. Okay, I was that blunt because it was scary for me. When it's that blunt, I don't waste any words. I said, here's what you do. You start now. Anytime you catch that kid without a seatbelt, whether it's with his friends, whether it's with a grandma, whether it's with you, you punish him. Take everything away for a week. His phone, everything. And she said, I said, that drastic. I said, you make it so that he wears a seatbelt without thinking. Just puts it on before you could think about it. And she went home and she did that. She said, I saw somebody who said that you have a lead foot and you're going to have an accident 6 months after you get your driver's license. So here's what we're going to do about that. And the son complained and said his mom was crazy the whole bit. She came back to me one day, and it was about 3 years. She'd gone to me once a year. She liked to go once a year. And she came back. She said, oh, my God, Rosie. She said, I want to thank you so much. And I said, why? Because I don't remember these things. And she told me what I said. And she said, it was exactly 6 months after he had his accident. I mean, after he got his license, he was going, down on, that road on Cameron Park?
Cameron Park Drive?
Yeah. He was going 85 miles an hour.
That's where I had my accident.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of young people have.
Yeah.
And he was going 85 miles an hour.
Around the
And-
first bend?
Yes, but he hit a van.
Ooh.
Not a
And he
tree.
hit so hard, they threw up in the air and rolled over.
Wow.
He walked away from that accident without a scratch.
Wow.
His truck was totaled, and so was the guy's van. And I said, oh, and he said, but the guy had a seatbelt on and he walked away too. He had a few bumps and bruises. But what was interesting, I said, so now, do you know what you do next? And she goes, what? And I said, you go home and you tell your son, guess what? You're getting a job for this summer, so you can pay the deductible for both of us. Me and the guy that got hit. Okay? So she ran home and did it. But sometimes when you see it that far enough ahead, you can save lives. I had one little girl, and I didn't even know I did this. I trans-channel. And trans-channeling is I leave my body and my Isabel comes through. She doesn't invade my body, she kind of hugs me. She said they use my tools. I make a beeline for the other side because that's where I like to be. Okay? I don't hear anything. I don't want to know what's going on. I don't like, I've got thousands of tapes from radio and TV and my seminars. I've only listened to 2 in my life, and I just don't care because I don't have any questions about the other side or anything else. Okay? So I didn't know. And when I woke up from that trance, she came to me and she was mad as heck and she said, "You're a horrible person." And I said, "Why am I a horrible person?" She said, "Number one, I don't even believe in God and I don't believe in you." And she walked out. She said, "My friend got me this as a birthday present," and she walked out. And it was 4 to 5 years later, she came and her name was Denise Blessing, which I think is a really cool name. And she came to me and she said, "You don't recognize me, do you?" And I said, "No, honey, I see a lot of people. I've done over 50,000 readings in a 40-year career. I stopped counting at 50. I've done seminars and radio and TV and books, and I don't have a mind like that, you know." But she said, she told me the story of what I said and why she was so angry with me. And I said, "I'm so sorry." She said that her daughter was going to graduate from high school and go to college, and she was going to be with a boyfriend, her new boyfriend, in a car, a little car, and they were going to get hit by a drunk driver. And if she was not wearing a seatbelt, and he too, they would both die in that accident. It was going to be so severe. And she said, "How long do I have before this happens?" She asked Isabel. Isabel said 3 years. She said, "And what we have to tell you, dear heart," because she calls everybody dear heart. She's an angel, so this will strike against her, you know, because she's not been human. She gets me in trouble all the time. But anyway, she said, "I'm going to have to tell you, dear heart, but this is going to be touch and go for your daughter. She's going to have years of surgery. She's going to be hurt severely. But if she's not wearing a seatbelt, she will die." And she said she was going to be hurt in her female areas, her stomach, her back, her legs. There would be fire. The car would be on fire. And she was going to have multiple surgeries on her back. And she said, but if she's wearing a seatbelt, she will overcome it. And she will be all right. Probably except for the trauma. So she never told me anything. She just yelled at me. And everybody was horrified. I didn't hear it. I didn't know it. But she told me this whole story and I started to cry. And I said, "I'm so sorry. I'd give a year of my life." And she had said that it happened exactly when Isabel said it was going to happen. She said it was to the day. And she said, I said, "I'm so sorry. I'd give a year of my life if that didn't happen." And she said, "Rosie, you've got it all wrong." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "The one thing that I got out of this whole stuff, all this tragedy, is that I now believe in God, and I didn't when I saw you." She said, "Because I had a miracle." And she said, when Isabel had said that the boy would be severely damaged and that he would say he saw angels and they had a mustache. And I knew none of this because I don't like listening to the tapes. You know, I disagreed a lot with Isabel, so you know. But, so anyway, and she said they got into an accident. They were going 75 miles an hour. A truck was going 85 miles an hour. The other in Las Vegas on those empty roads. And he was drunk and he did a hit-on with them. And they were in a Porsche. Can you imagine? And she was sleeping, so she had her seatbelt down here. And 2 cops came by after the accident. I mean, you could not tell. She showed me a picture of the car they were in. You couldn't tell it was a car. It looked like something that you would put down in those things where they squeeze everything and make it into a little square, you know, cars. And the guy went through the windshield. He was dead. And they thought for sure, the retired cops thought for sure that the persons, they couldn't even tell how many people were in that car, that they were dead. So, you know, they just called it in and went on by. And as they were going on by slowly, because you know how guys look at something like that, a lot of people do, she went like this. Her hand went up like this. and only her hand was sticking out, and she went like this. And they stopped and said, "Oh my God, somebody's alive in there." And they got out their fire extinguisher and extinguished the fire. And it took them, 3 hours to get him out of that car because they had to use the jaws of life. It was just, everything was just, you know. And she still had her seatbelt on, and so did he. He was a med student, and his mind is so damaged that he's down to a 4th grade level now. And he doesn't walk, okay? She had broken her back in 3 different places. Her legs were on fire. She ruptured an ovary. She ruptured her bladder. Everything was damaged so badly. And I'm sitting here bawling like a kid, you know, when she was telling me this. She said, "Rosie, you saved her life." Because I went home ranting and raving about this crazy psychic who said you were going to have an accident, and you know it wasn't going to be this man that you're dating, but a new one. And she said within 3 years, and that little girl, she scared that little girl so badly because she was tiny like you. And she scared her so badly that she never went anywhere without her seatbelt. But because she had it laying further down, you know, it ruptured ovary, it ruptured part of her bladder, and one kidney was severely damaged. And then her spine, her back was broken, and her spine was severely damaged, and she had 3rd-degree burns on her legs. And they were both kids who were in a coma for almost 4 months. And when the boy came out, he looked at his mother and he said, "I'm okay, Mom." He said, "I saw an angel," and he had a mustache. And Denise and this one other mother, they had gotten to know each other really well, and they would visit each other's kids, you know, when one couldn't come in. And she was standing there when the kid said it, and I guess Isabel had said that that's what the kid would say. And so she went and called the cops, who saved their lives, you know, and she said, "Do either of you have a mustache?" And she said, "No." They said, "No, we never have had mustaches." And so, but the niece's daughter had said to her that it was okay, Mommy, Daddy was holding me through the whole thing. Well, Daddy had died in the line of duty. He was a cop also when she was 5. Guess what? He had a mustache. So, you know, the boy thought he was an angel, and she said Daddy was holding me. So she said, "I have to tell you, I can't thank you enough. You know, you saved my daughter's life. I now believe in God." And then she looked at me and she said, "I'm scared to death of you, Rosie." And I was crying. I said, "Why are you scared of me?" And she said, "Because I have to ask you a couple questions." And I said, "Well, I don't understand." And she said, "I'm afraid of what you're going to say." And she said, "They've had to break my daughter's back twice again because it healed wrong. And they had to do surgery and take out a lot of the not vertebrae, but the discs." And she said, "Is she going to have another surgery on her back?" And I looked at her and I said, "At least one more." And she had to. She said, "Is my daughter ever going to marry?" I said, "Yes." And she said, "Will she be able to have babies?" And I said, "Yes, at least 2, if not 3. But you know, and then the girl, she said, "Can I ask you a question? Could you talk to my daughter and not tell her anything negative?" You know, I said, "Honey, I can't guarantee that. I don't put this in effect when I'm doing readings." So, but in fact, when she came in, I looked at her and I said, "Yes, honey, you're going to get married and you're going to have babies." And I said, "That's all you're really asking, isn't it?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay. Would you like to ask any other questions?" She said, "No." So we went out to lunch.
There you go.
But she didn't want anybody to see her legs because she was burned. You know, so she was afraid to date men because she was burned.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Honey, you're gorgeous as you are. Who cares about some burned legs, you know? This is what counts in the heart." So, but that was, I cried. I would have given a year of my life if that had not happened, if I could have changed it. And I couldn't. And when you deal with Isabel, I always tell people, if you want to ask questions, you need to really want to know the answer, because she will tell you, and she's very blunt, sweet lady. At least that's what everybody says about her. I do a lot of loaning Isabel out. I have thousands of people using her as their guide and stuff, and also I loan her out for gambling. Which I think is extremely funny to loan out an angel, don't you?
Yeah.
But And it was kind of weird, you know, it just broke my heart. But that's happened. But being able to save a life, I don't think much about psychics who see something awful happening, who don't tell their clients to warn them so that they can have a chance. I've been able to have people who I saw having a high potential for cancer to catch it because they start having themselves looked at every year, even young ones, and they catch it early, you know, or where it's a cyst and it can go into cancer, you know, that stuff. So it's hard for me because I don't talk about death unless people really want to know when they're going to die or what they're going to die of. I choose not to do that if I can, you know, but some people just want to know. They don't like surprises, and it's real hard for me because I don't like to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got any questions before she comes back?
I think I did, but I can't think of them.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you some more chance because we're going to get more into her reading, and then you have to go really quick.
No.
Okay, thank you for the water.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to have some now.
It's alright. Trust me, worse things have been spilt on this couch. A lot of beer. A lot of
A
alcohol.
lot of beer. You know, I had a prescription for a beer a day and I couldn't get it down.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't like it much either. I like the ciders, the ones that taste like apple and sweet fruit.
Yeah, what's that? I couldn't get it down. And, and I tried it every which way. I tried it cold, I tried it warm, and it was actual prescription. Because back then, I was in my early 20s and I have a birth defect in one kidney. And it's a really severe birth defect. And I thought it was hypochondriac because I was lining up in the hospital every 2 months for a week at a time, you know, and it was because I had so many kidney infections. And it took them 10 years to figure out what was wrong with me, and it was a birth defect. And so they said, we want you to flush your kidneys out every day. Take a beer a day. I could never do. And no more soda ever. No more oral sex. No more orange juice, and no more tomato juice, and all of which I totally ignored.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was young.
Especially when you're young, you don't think about those things.
Oh God, it was awful. But you know, it took them 4 specialists in 10 years to find out that I had a birth defect in my kidneys. You know, but anyway, so we're going to start. I want you to give me your full given name twice at birth, the name used today twice, the nicknames twice. Full given birth name.
Sabrina Marie Mobley. Sabrina Marie Mobley.
Okay, and the names used today twice.
I'm sorry?
The names used today twice.
I used today.
Hi, my name's Rosie B. What's yours?
Mobley. Savvy.
When you introduce yourself, what do you write down, or what do you say?
Sabrina.
Do you have a last name?
Oh, Mobley. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's right. All right, say it again.
Sabrina Mobley.
Okay, nicknames?
Brina. You want me to say them twice?
Yeah.
Brina, Miss B, Sabs, Miss B.
Okay, what's really cool about that is Breenie, is it Breenie or Brina?
Brina, but I have been called Breenie at work, which I don't particularly like.
Well, actually, I'm surprised you let anybody call you by a nickname, because your intellect, they love to have proper names.
I prefer it.
Now, if I were you, honey, I would get rid of the middle name. I wouldn't use it for anything legal or anything else. Marie is a great name for women who are frustrated counselors for truck drivers in bars.
Aww.
Yeah. One of your relatives had the name Marie, right?
I don't know.
Okay, you are not a Marie. And actually, Sabrina, you're not really a Sabrina either, because that's a very romanticized name for you.
Romantic?
No. Let me ask you again, honey. Do you ever want to have power in your life and respect?
Well, yes.
Okay. When you have a romantic, let's say you decide to go into business, and maybe it's accounting or some weird stuff like that. I can't imagine if it was boring. Okay. Let's say you want to go into something like that, or law, or a doctor, or a nurse. When you have a name that's really romantic, people think less of you. They think you're kind of an airhead because of the name. You're not, okay? I've had at least 6 clients where I said change your name immediately if you're going to start your own business. One of my best friends, who's another sister heart, her name was Debbie, and she actually ran a construction yard. And all the guys in that, and she was 4'9", which was even more awful. And they kept saying, Debbie, why don't you bring in some cookies sometime? For heaven's sakes, feed us guys. They never took her seriously, and they never took her for granted. And that little girl she's a powerhouse. And I went, oh my God, you are so misnamed. I said, throw out all your names and let's give you a power name, because she wanted to start her own business. I said, I don't care what you started in, it will be very analytical and it will be very powerful. Let's rename you. And finally first time she went around, but she went along it. We started brainstorming. I said, you know what you remind me of? And she said, what? And I said, an Alexandra. Not Alex, not Lexi, but Alexandra. And if you ever go by that name, don't ever let anybody shorten it. And so she liked that name, and she was married to a Chinese man, and the last name was Lee, L-E-E. And she wanted something a little more dramatic, so she put D-E, DeLee. So now she's known as Alexandra DeLee. And you know what her business is? She deals with lawyers and doctors, and she controls those people like you would not. She's like a little Attila the Hun. She is, they listen to her. They're scared of her at times. 4'9". And, Jay says, this is the way it's going to be. You're going to do this and you're going to do that. And if you don't, you're not my client anymore. But she's gotten them so much business because she puts them together and they do accident cases. But she's a pretty little thing. And the more you're beautiful and you're little, the more men go, oh yeah, she needs to be taken care of, meaning, i.e., control. Okay, well, you couldn't control Alexander. She's like a tornado, but just the name changed her whole life, and it sounds strange, but I can tell you something. Nobody ever calls me by my given name, and it's Rosemary. And my middle name is Ruth. And it wasn't something I chose. It was my confirmation name, which I absolutely hate. Okay? I never use it. All right?
Wait, what's a confirmation name?
In the Catholic Church, after you have catechism and after you have the First Communion, then you have confirmation.
Okay.
Which I didn't want to go through anyway, because to me there was something stinky in the Catholic Church. And then I found out why I felt that. Because I've had recall the Holocaust since I was 2. Unfortunately, when you're talking about the Holocaust and you have names and dates and people at 3, people tend to lock you up in closets or beat you. At least my people did. So, nah, I don't like Ruth. But nobody, not my husband, not my friends, not my sisters, not anybody in the whole wide world calls me Rosemary. They call me Rosie. And when I have my checks written for my fee, they don't even put my last name on usually. They put Rosie. Because I am a Rosie. I'm one of the few. There's only 20% of the women in this country especially who are caretaker souls. I'm a mama soul. And it's natural for me to be a mama. It's natural for me to hug, and it's natural for me to help people emotionally, okay? And that's what people see. I've done readings all over the world. I can't figure out how they get my name because I never advertised. And they'll say, half an hour into that reading, they'll say, Rosie, I bet you if I was there, you would be hugging me. Well, probably. And she said, I bet you if I was there, you'd be giving me milk and cookies. Yeah, I have every client I've ever had on the phone that said that. And it's because I would. That's what my name implies. Anything with the sound of an E at the end of it, like Marie, Rosie, Sandy, those are all supposed, people will see you as a caretaker. Lindsay, yeah, they'll see you as a caretaker, and most of you guys aren't. There's only 20% women in this world, in this country especially, who are caretaker souls. The rest of you are intellectual souls, and that means you're going to help change the world, and especially this country. And I've said that in 2000, you're going to see women getting into politics and into administrations. We're now having women wardens and stuff like that, and governors, and women are going to be the ones who fix it, not men this time. So, if you ever, just don't use Marie, if you ever decide to have your own business, unless you're selling Tupperware, Avon, or making cookies. or like,
None
or
of
like,
the above.
All
Huh?
those are
None of the above.
some pretty badass occupations.
yeah, because you will be thought of as in fact, you already are thought of as a caretaker. You know, and you're not a caretaker, honey. Just because you came out of the womb with breasts and a vagina does not mean you're a caretaker soul. It means you are a female, and it also means you are an intellectual soul that people have trained to be a caretaker. That's why you do it well. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But you're not, you know. You always need to, you know, especially with the two of you, if you came to my office in 20 years, I'd say, oh my God, Sabrina, you're doing so good. Cut off your head, roll it on the floor a little bit. You're a little bloody, but you're doing really good. You got it all together. Because you should live in your head. That's where you belong. That's where you belong. And then you need to think and analyze and use all those wonderful thinking tools and come out this way with compassion. Not just go, here, have some. Here, have some. And you guys get drained by people. Do you realize that if somebody's having a problem, they don't even have to say a word to you, but if you're around them, it will drain you. Does that make sense? You go home like, oh God, I'm so tired. And it's not because you work two jobs sometimes. It's because you're around a person who's got a problem and is basically a psychic vampire who's sucking out your energy right through your little umbilical cord. They don't know it. We all do it at some point. Teenagers do it worse than anybody else because they need extra energy, you know. So, but you are an intellectual soul, honey. But Sabrine, you know, if you were, let's say you got into something like law. If you were to call yourself Sabrine instead of Sabrina, okay, now which sounds more professional, Sabrine or Sabrina?
I don't know. I can't picture anything other than Sabrina.
Okay,
Interesting.
but the thing that you have to realize is you will, as you get older, you will begin to observe people and begin to wonder why they think you should take care of them. Okay, but you have to realize that you are an intellect and you need to intellectualize almost everything you do with other people, unless it's your husband or your children and your friend,
Wife.
okay, or your best friends or whatever.
I do actually have a coworker.
Are you two together?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
No.
I do
Husband,
actually.
yeah. Okay, again, here's the thing about people who are any form of gay. I love the word gay because it means happy and carefree. I don't care if you want to call yourself lesbian, transsexual, or anything. I like to say gay because it means that they're happy and carefree. Because that's where I came from. Okay, but honey, you will be the husband. You are male energy. And you will find somebody who's female energy, much more dramatic than you, much more, you know, afraid than you, much more like, more of a, kind of need a lot more sleep than you, doesn't like to clean the house as much as you might, you know. You will find a person who's got total female energy, who's very spontaneous and impulsive,
So,
you know.
can I ask if you know about this last relationship I was in?
Give me a first name.
Nikki. Well, real name?
What, you called her Nikki?
Yeah.
What was her real name?
Nicole.
Oh. Honey, can I ask you a question?
Uh-huh.
Why did you even get connected with her?
Oh my
This
God.
is a drama queen.
Thank you.
I mean, she appears normal, but then she goes kind of half-cocked, you know, and she's not trusting. She would look through anything of yours if she thought you were messing around, you know. And let me ask you a question. Did she ever do dishes or anything?
Yeah, she cleaned. I mean, she was kind of sloppy, but.
Kinda. Only because you kept saying things. Okay? No, Sabrina, this little girl, and I don't care if she's large in body or small in body, this little girl, because that's what she wants to be. She wants the sugar mommy, and she wants a little girl to be a little girl, so somebody will take care of her. Okay? But because you're an advocate, you pick up. Okay, what's her name again? You called her Nikki. I don't even want to say Nicole. That is one of the worst names. People are like, it's all about me.
Oh my God, that's so true.
Let's take some selfies. It's all your fault because if you hadn't thought this or you hadn't been this way, it's all your fault.
I know.
Yeah, but it's not. Very little of it was your fault. You're like kind of a walking, talking, confused person when it comes to people like Nikki, because you think that everybody should want to be happy. And when things were going good, they still weren't going good for her because it was always not enough, never enough. Now she's got the baggages of a 40-year-old. Okay, but she also wants to be. Have you ever heard of Peter Pan
Oh.
syndrome?
Uh,
It's me. Oh, how about the Toys R Us kid? I don't want to grow up. I want to be a Toys R Us kid.
okay.
There's Nikki. Okay, she doesn't want to grow up. She wants somebody to take care of her. She wants a sugar mama. And she never ever wants you to blame her for anything because it's always your fault. Okay? Now, you really got damaged with this one. Okay? But that's because you keep working through your heart instead of your head. And I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Both of you, if you want to have a good mate, I don't care what you choose. I wouldn't care if my son was in love with a duck. If the duck loved him back. He has cerebral palsy and he's gay. I don't care who he loves, as long as they love him back. That was my one dream left for him, is that someone would love him. And thank God I found one, and I married him. So it was really cool. But anyway, here's the thing. I want you to write down your father and mother's name, okay? And I want you to write down some of their good traits and some of their negative traits. And then I want you to get a piece of paper, and every man or woman, depending which one your choice is, or transsexual or whatever, write down their name and ask yourself, does this person have any traits of my mom or dad, good or bad? And then every person you've ever loved like that, I don't care if it was just puppy love or, just write down the traits. If you have a sister, if you're lesbian, you have a sister or a cousin that you loved a lot, write down their traits, good or bad. Follow your mom and dad. Within 2 hours, you have your patterns. There is not an intellectual soul on this earth plane that does not do patterns. Heart-will people, patterns go right out the window. I was married for almost 40 years to my first husband. And when I chose another man, I was dating 4 men in 4 months after I got divorced. Why are you doing that, Rosie? Because I want to, Yeah. But one was 17 years younger than me, a chiropractor, which I thought was really cool. Okay, but I got to tell you, when I chose the man that I loved deeply, I fell in love so deeply. The minute he walked in the door and opened his mouth up and started laughing, I was sunk. There went my hussy career in the beginning. I wanted to be a hussy. I didn't want to marry again. I was a virgin when I got married. And that was just a waste of time in my book. I just did it to spite my mom. Okay. But the person I chose was totally, every single aspect of those 2 men were totally opposite, night and day. Midnight and morning, early morning, that's how different they were. But that's what we do. Heart-will people choose whatever hits their fancy at the moment, but intellectual souls, they do patterns. Does that make sense? Here's something for both of you, okay? Because both of you are going to have problems in your life when you choose people because you're an advocate, all right? Rosie, look at my little love. Her name is Nikki. Okay. Oh, Rosie, look, she's a lump of clay now. But look at the talents in this one. Look at the light. Look at all that light, that spiritual light. This, Rosie, this could be a masterpiece. And what goes on with intellectual souls who are advocates, they go, but I can see the light and I can see the talents. How come it's not coming out? And what advocates have to learn, honey, both of you, is that some people just want to be a lump of clay. It's way too much work to be a masterpiece. And that's what you've been choosing. Lumps of clay who don't want to be masterpieces. They want you to be the masterpiece. Does that make sense? So you remember this when you pick up somebody that you think you can love, you too, and go, is my advocacy radar coming out? Oh, this is a wounded being. I need to help fix it. Okay, that's what you guys will do. So get those patterns down, and whenever you see a lot of the good patterns, stay. When you see a lot of the bad ones, run like hell. Excuse my language, I don't swear, but that's why I'm really, really serious when I swear. Run, okay? And you're not over her. And I'm going to tell you something. I have a sneaky suspicion she's going to want you to come back.
She already does.
Okay, don't. Well, I can't tell you what to do. I get knocked in the head when I do. If you want more of the same, have fun. You know, sometimes we have to hit our head against the wall before we go, oh God, that hurts. That really hurts.
Only
Maybe
a
I
couple
shouldn't knock.
times.
Yeah, well, the difference between intellectual souls. An intellectual soul will knock their head against the wall and say,
That
did
hurt
that
too
hurt?
bad.
And then they'll knock their head again. Oh yeah. Heart-ruled soul like me, knock their head against the wall 2, 3, maybe 4 times and go, did that really hurt? Oh my God, that does. So it takes us 5 times knocking our head against the wall, but it only takes you 2 to 3. Okay, that's the difference between heart-ruled souls and intellectual souls. You sooner or later learn. But because you're an advocate, you're going to always pick up wounded people. Always. Okay? But honey, anybody who's always saying it's all your fault, you better run. Because it's not. You remind me of my sister Heart Stephanie. She's lesbian too, and she's such a sweetheart. But she had no clue. They were together 17 years, and she had no clue that they were legally, that legal contract thing. They had been together 17 years. She helped raise her kids. And one day Debbie finally said, I've had enough, and walked out. She didn't have a clue what was going on. And it was all because she thought that Stephanie should be insisting on more sex, and she didn't. And Stephanie's one of those people who's very loving. And, Debbie had migraines, and what it was is, when you hit 17 years, you kind of get lax, both of you, with the sex department. And Debbie was always reading books, and Stephanie was playing on her computer when they were on the bed, And I said, you know what? Anybody, if they want more sex, if they're not stupid, they will make sure it happens. I can make a man sexy. I don't care what they think I look like. I can make them raise up real fast. It's just easy. I can do without even thinking, But I am the sex sign of the zodiac. I'm Scorpio, and it's not hard. But you see, Debbie always assumed that it was her job to get her bothered, and she never ever thought that she should get Stephanie bothered, and it was all her fault. Same as this Nikki. So I'm going to tell you, and I would tell Nikki that to her face. You need to grow up, honey, and start doing your share of relationship. If she ever did a reading, I'd be saying it to her. Because you know what? It's not going to work no matter what you do. If you don't do 2, it takes 2 to make a relationship. Anytime a woman comes in and says to me, I need to find out how to fix our relationship. And I will say you've already failed. Because it takes 2. We need to fix our relationship. And you will always be saying I because you're an advocate. Does that make sense? But here's another thing. Intellectual souls, I feel so bad for you guys because thank God I'm not an intellectual soul. You absolutely hate dating. Oh my God, it's like applying for a new job or being on an auction block. And then you go, I have people come in my office and go, Rosie, I don't care if they're straight, they're gay, or whatever. There was this guy in high school. There was this girl in high school. She was a really jerk when we were going together. Do you think she's changed or he's changed? Because you know what? I thought I'd give him a call to find out how he's doing. It's because they're familiar. They like to date familiar people, usually from the past. Okay, and what's even worse than that, they will even date somebody, like if you had a brother and you said to her, or you had a sister and you said to her, I think my sister is just perfect for you. She would date that person even though she knew that person wasn't perfect because you said so. Because she knows that person. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You guys hate to date. Now, heart-ruled people? Dinner and a movie and it's all free. I don't have to clean up. Oh yeah, I'm all for dating every night of the week if I can. That's what I thought, and that's what heart-ruled people do. They love new people, because when you're first new, they try to get you into a nicer restaurant, or maybe a concert instead of a movie, but that's how heart-ruled people do. They love dating, and it's really strange because intellectual souls absolutely hate dating. And you're considering going back to her because of that. because you hate to date. Oh, wait a minute.
Considered,
Oh, yeah.
but not
No, but
going
wait a
to.
bit. But, no, I love her. True? Was that what you're going to say?
I'm not going back.
Want to bet? If you get lonely enough, you will.
You think?
And I'm going to tell you, once you say no to her, she's going to start really going after you.
I've already told her no.
Because it's really kind of interesting. She didn't realize how good she had it with you.
I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you can go back to her, honey, but what that means to me is in life, all our profound life lessons, and I mean really profound life lessons, this is a lesson of letting go for you. It is one of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn. Death is a lesson of letting go. Relationships are a lesson of letting go. Jobs that are not good for you are a lesson of letting go. Does that make sense? If you're into drugs or alcohol or being a sex fiend, it's a lesson, a profound life lesson, and we always have negative teachers for profound life lessons. Okay, and this is a lesson for you in letting go. And you're going to find it the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, because letting go is the other lesson that's only more important. There's only one other lesson more important than letting go. You know what it is? True compassion, where you actually feel somebody's pain. You actually feel their heartbreak, and you actually feel their suffering. That is so very rare. And I believe in past lives, because like I said, I had recall since I was 3 at the Holocaust, 2 or 3. And I know that lessons are like an onion. You keep peeling down layers lifetime after lifetime. But this lesson, because you came in and because you were trained to be a caretaker, you subconsciously think that's what you are. And because you're an advocate on top of it, it's like, oh my God, I gotta fix this person. You know, so it's going to be very hard for you to let go in life. Whether it be an addiction, whether it be Nikki, whether it be another person, whether it be something that is negative for you, like a Marie. Marie's not a bad name. It's just negative for you because you are not a personality who would want to be a counselor in a bar to truck drivers.
Bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Does that make sense? Okay. So, but, you know, it doesn't mean she's a bad person, honey. It just means she's a Toys R Us kid. She doesn't want to grow up. And she's found, and she can manipulate very easily, by the way. Have you ever heard of the slap caress routine? Well, they'll caress you. These people who manipulate, they'll say something sweet. Oh my God, I don't know how I could live without you. Oh, you're just so sweet. Oh, you're so sexy. Oh, this, oh, that. Okay? And then if you do something that gets her upset, she slaps you across the head going, you stupid jerk, how could you do this? Are you dummy? Are you whatever, she says. Okay? It's all your fault. Okay? But the minute you want, okay, I'll go away, she's going to start doing the caressing again. And then if she gets you back, she'll slap you silly again. Emotionally. Does that make sense? Okay? It's a slap caress routine, and it's manipulation. She's really good at it. You know? And I'd probably tell her to her face. I've known to be very blunt with people.
Well, she works at Red Hawk, and I can give you her hours if you...
She's not going to want to see me, I'll tell you. If I said,
believe
oh,
it.
I saw Sabrina and did a reading for her, and she thinks she'd like a reading. She's not going to do it. Okay? But do you see what I'm saying, honey? And you have to realize that you might go back to her. But have you ever heard the saying, sorry but wiser person? Okay, it's a very old saying. My great-grandma used to say it, so did my grandma. So, they would say, you may be a sorrier but wiser person after you get through with this bout of that person, or this job, or whatever. It means you're really sorry that you got involved again. Whether it be a job, whether it be addiction, whether it be somebody who's hurt you, it's a sorry, but it means sooner or later you'll get smart. Does that make sense? But honey, what's really behind all this, you get lonely real easy, which is really fascinating to me because you're a loner. You only can handle people for 8 to 10 hours a day tops. Then you gotta have some quiet time, okay, and alone time, okay? And number 2, you really, really got hurt by her. Does that make sense? But you're getting lonely, and because you hate to date, I figured, why not give her another chance? Is this the second chance, or is it the first chance, or is it the 10th chance?
Like,
Can you get to
6.
double digits yet?
Yeah.
It's up there.
But see, obviously, you're kind of trying to hide from the lesson. Sometimes it's easier to get hurt than it is to learn to let go. Because letting go is really painful. You never ever let go of some of the hurt. You always hide it deep in your gut somewhere. Okay? Not in your heart, but in your gut. And so it's... Grandma's blinking on again. You can see the whole big white energy field right there. It's really cool. I'll have to teach you that. I'll show you that when we get done. Okay? So it's really important that you realize that, honey. Now, can I go on to something else? Or do you have any questions about that?
No, that pretty much sums it up, that I shouldn't be with her.
Yeah.
I know
No,
it.
that's not true. Maybe you need to learn more. It's not that you shouldn't. Maybe you might not want to be with her anymore. Maybe you might not want to go through this over and over. It's not that you shouldn't. When you say shouldn't, wouldn't, couldn't, I have to, I must, those are words that all strong women use so they don't have to basically be responsible for how they feel. Does that make sense? Because they're afraid somebody's going to get mad at them. And that goes right along with your abandonment issues. How can I abandon her when I've been abandoned myself? That's not what you think with your head. That's that inner child talking. Does that make sense? You haven't abandoned her, honey. She keeps pulling this crap. Okay? So, but sometimes I've always said, well, you know, it might take a few more lessons before you learn that. You know?
I feel like we've had a few lessons.
Well, but you might have to have a few more because some of us are hard-headed. Some of us are so intent on fixing somebody that, you know, don't feel bad. You know how long it took me? I had one kid I had from the time she was 14. She's a young black woman who was transsexual. Okay, and Robin was a sociopath. And on top of that, she became a psychopath, which means you beat crap out of people. But she knew how to lie. She never felt, they don't feel for other people. They don't care about other people. All they care about is their needs getting met at the moment. They don't even care about themselves that much. They just care about getting their needs met at the moment. It took me 40 years before I could let go of her. Because I kept seeing the wounded child, and that's where I get in trouble. I see a wounded child in every one of you. And that's why I took so many kids in. I saw wounded children. And I wanted to help take away the wounds, the hurt. Okay, but with Robin, because she was born a male, and she was probably the most transsexual person I've ever seen. Okay, and in fact, she went down to the post office dressed up in her finest, and she told the post office, not post office, the DMV, that they made a mistake on her birth certificate. And she told the birth certificate office too. You know, you guys, you silly guys, you know, this is really stupid because she's a black person. People are afraid of them yelling, you know. So they changed her birth certificate to female, and they changed her driver's license to female. And then when she decided she wanted to be called doctor, she went to the DMV and said, I just got my degree. I'm a doctor of psychology. So now they call her Dr. Robin Robbins. It's like, oh my God. And I'm thinking, how can anybody do, I could never get away with something like that. But she could because she's a sociopath. And she can lie with it where you would never know she was lying, ever. But she's a sociopath and now she's become a psychopath where she physically hurts people. And I had to let her go. And it broke my heart. And I miss her at times. But you know what? I just can't. I can't deal with anybody who's violent. And the sociopath was hard enough to deal with. But somebody hurting you physically for fun?
Right.
Yeah, I can't do it. So it took me 40 years, honey. So, you know, you're not doing too bad. You know?
It's only been 6
I'm going to ask you about your jobs right now.
Okay.
I want you to give me the names of where you work.
Red Hot Casino Buffet and Sizzler.
Are you thinking about leaving one of those jobs?
Yes, I put my notice into Sizzler.
Okay, which one?
Sizzler,
Red-
yeah.
huh?
Sizzler.
Sizzler? You can leave Red Hawk too. I know this sounds really odd, but you will either get, in the next 2 years, you'll get into something totally different, or you'll be getting into like a supper club, something like that, where you get paid more. Does that make
I'd give her a
sense?
hug for that.
Yeah. You know, something like Applebee's or Outback or Red
No, I don't
Lobster.
want anything like
And
that.
are you planning to move? There's gonna be a.
No.
Is this? Do you own this house?
This is her place.
I rent it.
I live
Okay.
with my mom, but I've been staying here.
Okay. Do you own this house?
I rent it, but yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're saying renting it.
Yeah.
I think you're both gonna move away from this area. I don't know
hope so.
why. You know, I know she probably doesn't want to move right now.
Not
No,
right
she
now.
doesn't.
And as a personal question, how much you pay for this?
500.
That's not bad. No wonder you don't want to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But in the next few years, you might be moving too. With you, it might be sooner. Okay? It's not a good or bad thing, honey. What's happened is around June of this year, you finished a cycle. Okay? We go anywhere from 2-year cycles, 7-year cycles, 10-year cycles, and yours was a 10-year cycle. Okay? And have you noticed you're not really satisfied with much of anything right now in your life? Okay, what happened, June of this year, you start closing doors on the past, okay? You might have closed doors on how you feel about living with your parents, you might close doors on spending too much money, you might close doors on, change is coming, all right? So you close doors and then new doors start opening up, but you've been in limbo for a while. Is this August? Yeah, that's actually almost exact to the date when you're going to start opening more new doors and you're going to create change for yourself by opening those doors. Some of the doors open automatically and of a new life or a new change, and some you open yourself. And that's why I pick up that you're going to let go of one thing, but you might also let go of that and go into something totally different, or maybe where it's more lucrative. Okay, if I could get you guys into craft, you could sell on Etsy, you'd probably be making more money than you make there in both places. Okay, but and I'd show you how. But because I like to help young people. But you're also going to. Are you in school now? There's a need to go to school.
Yeah, I just signed up for my first year of college, and I'm gonna be attending my first day on
What are you
the
gonna be?
22nd.
Please don't say business.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, okay. To be fair, I haven't signed up for business classes, but that was my intention of going.
Okay, but what did you want to be when you were a kid? I don't know. I can't remember much about my childhood. That's all intellectual souls. Have you thought of being a therapist? Do you like kids?
No.
I mean, yes, but
As long as they're not yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your sister has kids. How do you feel about them?
Well, she goes and then she can let them go. I mean, she goes over, says, "Hi, how are you? I love you so much," and off she goes. Wouldn't be good to have children right now. Neither would you, because you both have a lot of changes in your life where it leads to more power to help other people. Okay. How old are you right now?
20.
Oh God. I remember the days 20 wasn't good for me.
I hear 20 isn't good for anybody.
Well, for me, it was really bad. But anyway, my first near-death experience was when I was 13 days shy of 21. Yeah, it wasn't good. But anyway, honey, can I just ask you to think about, just for the heck of it, to think about an art therapy class or a psychology class or so, because you'd be really good in art therapy. That doesn't mean you have to draw. It means what you do is a real new technique. It's about 5 years, 6 years, maybe 7 years old now. What they do is they have kids draw pictures. And just the idea of kids drawing like with gray and black and browns says there's a lot of abuse in that kids being abused. When they draw a picture of like a house and they don't put windows or doors in the front, it means they're stuck in that house. There's abuse going on it and they can't get out. It's like a prison. And when they draw themselves really small with everybody else really tall, that means it's all indicative of abuse. Emotional, physical, mental, sexual. I think you would be really good at it, okay, because you have this mind, and it's like you're a nitpicker personality. If you see one little piece of the puzzle, you just got to figure out where it goes. Does that make sense? You have that natural inquisitiveness, and you are not really a business person per se. You know, I think like having to do the taxes and the books will drive you out of your head. You know, it's like, oh my God, I gotta do the taxes, I gotta do, yeah, it's not you. Business really doesn't teach you how to deal with people. And you're such a loving person, you know, I shined right up to you. You were just so sweet, you know, I just wanted to hug you, you know.
Thanks.
But you know, do you think that would do well in business? Unless you were selling baby clothes or,
Right.
you know, Tupperware, or, you know, anything that's kind of female, you know, kind of like foo-foo, okay? But business, okay, let's go this way. I have never met an intellectual soul who hasn't thought of business first, business classes, because they don't know what else to think about. They don't know what they want to do. And usually they don't figure it out until they're 40 or 50, okay? But can you think of anything you wanted to be when you were young? Little girl? Not young. You're only 20 now.
Well, I know that I thought of being like an actress or a singer.
Yeah, you'd be a great actress, but you're just too shy right now. You might think seriously about doing it when you're a little older, because you're kind of unformed right now. You know, have you ever thought about being a model?
Mm.
You,
No.
you are photogenic.
I've had my family say that I should be, but I don't take it seriously.
Yeah, you know, they're picking up on girls now who are about 5'4", and who aren't so thin anymore, because they finally are getting it. I mean, when they had, the little girl who was 22, size 22 on, what was that magazine for the swimsuit issue? It's a men's magazine. And they got more people who would like to have sex with her than some of the skinny girls. So it's starting to turn around. But I still don't think that's you, okay? But you could do it. You could get away with it because you're photogenic, all right? And I think you're very shy. You know, I sometimes think you don't know what to say about anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds like me.
And part of that is you've lost your voice. Who told you to sit down, be quiet, and be modest when you were a little girl? Mom?
She has a pretty relaxed mom.
Hmm?
Said she has a pretty relaxed mom.
Yeah, but did she ever tell her that little girls should be modest and be quiet? And
Probably not. I feel like that, if anything, was more my grandma and my dad.
Okay, but somebody told you that, and what happened to that little girl? It started around 3. What happened to that little girl? She lost her voice. So now you think a lot about things, but you rarely ever communicate them. Like with Nikki, you don't have these. You know, don't tell me that I'm all to blame for this. You do this, this, and this, and you've done this many times. You don't do that. You don't stick up for yourself.
I did.
Well,
This
after
time.
how many?
This time.
But after how many times, honey? You see, what's happening is, whether you know it or not, is Nikki is one of your most profound life teachers. She's a negative teacher, but she will get you mad enough eventually to say what you feel. And you rarely ever do that. Because there's always this thing inside, I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to have anybody feel abandoned, you know, because that's how you felt most of your life. Does that make sense? No, your parents are bad parents. That's what little girls are. Do you know, I have clients who refuse to put their daughter's A papers on the refrigerator because their little brother only gets C's or D's. They don't mean to harm the child. They don't mean to harm their feelings of themselves. They just don't want to harm the one who's having the problems. You know, so parents don't go to college to raise children. You know, it just isn't done. I wish it was. I wish they were forced to nowadays, because I've seen a lot of parents who are having children and totally ignoring them. You see kids with 3-month-old babies, 6-month-old babies at Walmart at 12 midnight. They're crying, they're hungry, they're cold. They don't even have their God-given sense to put blankets all over them. Their feet are red. If you see a baby's foot's red and they're freezing, you know, they're just too busy on their phone or talking to their friends or shopping. I wish they had to make that. Sooner or later they will, because we're going to have so many kids who are damaged. But honey, you do very good with something like that. You also would make an excellent psychologist. You really would. or a counselor. You know, you're young now, it doesn't seem to interest you now, but you have those natural traits. So can I ask you a favor? Or just to even think about it? Because I'm not supposed to tell you what to do, because I get knocked on the head.
Who do you get knocked on the head by?
Isabel,
Why?
because it is not my right to walk somebody else's path. And I'll tell you how that started. I had two little girls your age, well, 23. And they came to my office and they both wanted a reading. And I took one look at them and went, oh my God. Both of their energy fields were totally black. And that means imminent death. And I sat them down and said, I'm not going to do readings today. I said, you two are being battered by your boyfriends, aren't you? You're being hurt by your boyfriends. Oh no, don't lie to me, I'm a psychic. You know, and both of them started crying. Says, yes, we're scared to death of them. And I said, you've each got a child. And they said, yes. I said, you want that child to die too? I said, because your energy fields are black, which means you're in imminent danger of dying. And it's not through illness. I said, you're not leaving this office. I locked the door. You're not leaving this office until I find safe houses for the both of you. And they were scared enough that they listened. So they went home, they got their babies, and they went to these safe houses. And I told them, I said, if you don't get away from that guy, restraining order isn't going to help. You have to leave the state. You have to leave where you're at. Because it was so bad. And one little girl had been thrown down the stairs, and she had ended up in a hospital with a broken leg and a broken arm. And I said, if you don't leave, you're going to die, and so are your kids. I was so upset. And I kept hearing Isabel going, Rosie, this isn't your right. Rosie, you can't walk their path. Rosie, you can't do this. And I went, the hell I can. You know, I mean, it's hard. So I got them a safe house, both of them, and they were in different houses. They went home and got their kids. One little girl was so scared of her boyfriend that she went to this safe house. They went underground. They changed her name, they changed her birth certificate, they changed her driver's license, put red flags all over it, changed the boy's name, he was only a year old, okay, and they put her in Arizona in a safe house. She went to college, she, you know, stayed away from men for a while until she could go to these classes that, you know, self-esteem classes, and she's doing really good. I get postcards from her. The other woman went home after 3 months to her boyfriend. They were dead in under a year, both of them. And I cried and cried. But I lost my sight for 6 weeks. Isabel came in after they left and she said, Rosie, you can't do this. It's not your right. It's a universal law. She said, even God follows that law. You cannot walk upon another path, someone else's path, and tell them what to do. You can't. She said, because it's their choices. They have free will and they have free choice. And I said, but Isabel, they were going to die. And she said, you cannot make their choices for them. And I cried, and I railed against Isabel, and I was angry with God, and I was angry with everybody. And when I found out the little girl died, I was even angrier. But they took away my sight, not this sight, but my sight for 6 weeks. And I felt like I was empty. I felt like something died in me, and I was empty, and it was one of the worst times I ever had in my life because I didn't know what to do. I thought I made the right decisions, but you know, the right decisions aren't what they're talking about. They're talking about God gives you 2 gifts, free will and choice, and nobody has the right to take that away from you. And I did. But you know what? That's where I learned that there's a difference between destiny and fate. One little girl changed her whole destiny. It means she wasn't meant to die. That other girl went back to the guy and died. He shot all 3 of them, himself too. It meant that this was the way, it wouldn't have made any difference. He would have found her eventually and killed her and the kid and himself. It was fated. That's how she was meant to die. It still didn't help me because I wanted her to have a chance to make a choice. And she said, Rosie, you cannot walk somebody else's path. You can only say, you might choose to do this, you might choose to do that. And the reasons behind why you should change your choices, or could change your choices. She said, but you can't make decisions for them. And I almost quit my readings because I had a real hard time dealing with that. Really hard. Because it's just, so I always try to phrase my things. You might want to do this. You don't have to do anything. You might want to do this. You might want to look at this. You might want to change this because you're not getting what you need now. But it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. But thank God that one little girl's raising her. She went to college. She's raising her son. She's never married again. And she's raising her son, and she's happy. But, she had to let go of everything just to be able to raise her son. And she went underground. So she was hidden out because, he was looking for her. And it was sad. But so you have to know what you can and what you can't do in this work. Same as a psychologist would or a therapist would. You'd make a wonderful, as you get older, could you just take the business course as a major and then do maybe psychology as a minor? Because I have a sneaky suspicion you might get interested in it. And maybe a little older, you might choose to become a family therapist. So, and just for the heck of it, I think you'd be fascinated by it. Because, she is more set in her ways. It's like cut and dried. She's that type of person. You're a person who goes a little this way and a little that way. You have more flexibility because you just have more, you're more open to whatever. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
She is, like I said, she is so, sometimes, honey, you could actually mimic a computer. It's got to be this way, this way, this way, and then I know it's right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And where, like with you, you'd make a wonderful nurse or a doctor. You know why? You would be the one that everybody would want to get out of the hospital early because of. Because you're okay. All right, you've been in that bed for a whole day now. Let's get up and walk. Come on. Come on. You can do it. I just know you can. I'm tired. No, sweetie. We need to get you up on those feet. You would be that type. I'm going to show you how to do it. So I said, you're a strong teacher. And do you ever, are you working right now?
Yeah.
Okay, where do you work?
Same place. Red Hawk Buffet.
Okay. Do you ever have anybody who comes in who's new and someone goes, I don't really know how to fold these napkins? Here, I'll show you.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what teacher souls do. They want to show people how to help themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you're extremely like that, and so are you, but you're more emotional about it. She's cut and dried. It's like, this is the way you do this. See? Yeah, it's really simple, But I know it sounds strange. It doesn't mean that you're not emotional in your private life. It doesn't mean that you don't love greatly. It doesn't mean that you don't feel greatly. It just means when you're teaching something, you're very cut and dry.
Mm-hmm.
She'll come along and go, well, this is how I fold these napkins, but you know what? If you want to change it a little bit, you might just do it this way, See the difference?
Yeah.
You're cut and dry. No, this is the way it's done right now, because, that's the way I learned.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but you might just want to fold one up here like this and just kind of make a little flower or something. Does that make sense to you? Okay, but you're both strong intellects. You're both intellectual souls, and you both are teacher advocates, only she's more of an advocate and you're more of a teacher. Does that make sense? So, now what do therapists do? They teach people how to change their lives. In fact, as you get in your 40s, you make a great life coach. You have natural ability in that. I bet you're always listening to people and their problems. And I bet you do too, but at some point you go, let's get on with your life, honey. Let's move on.
No.
Because she's more teacher advocate and you're more teacher advocate, you're more advocate teacher. Okay? You want to help. No, you're both teacher advocates. Okay, but you use the advocates more like, okay, let's move on with your life. Have you told her that? You need to move on. You need to get going with something else.
Yeah, in a way, I think.
Oh, I think you have real clearly. But is that a bad thing? You want the best for her, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't like Nikki hurting her.
No.
You don't like anybody hurting her. Punch you in the face. You've had ID thought processes. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's interesting to the intellectual souls, and they're going to change this world. They really are. But you'd make I gotta tell you, so if she were to become a nurse, she'd probably be in things like orthopedics, okay, or emergency room, because she likes to get a rush, okay. She's very competitive with herself. You'd be good as a nurse, an obstetric nurse, where you help deliver babies, because it's like seeing a miracle every day. Does that make sense? Both of you are only 20, so you got a long way to go to decide what you really truly want to be. But I'm asking you as a favor, okay, if you ever believe anything I said, you might think taking psychology as a minor or family counseling.
Okay,
Just
I
for the
get
heck
hint.
of it.
I can
Yeah. You know, in businesses, honey, you both already know how to do business. What can you learn in a business class? Think about something you can learn.
How to properly run it and do your taxes throughout it, and marketing.
Okay.
Marketing is so boring.
Marketing and taxes are about the only two things you're going to learn. You already know how to run your business. Both of you already know how to deal with people. Does that make sense? I watched you because I really wanted just to hug you. I mean, you're like a piece of caramel. Just such a warm, sweet person. No, really. And I know that sounds strange, but I'm a really good judge of people. And I don't judge as much as observe. And everybody, I watched people around you when you were serving them. They always just beamed. And you're so efficient, you know, you get things done really fast. Okay, here's your food, here's your second course, you know. And you have a weird sense of humor, kind of like the Far Side. So you might think of something funny to say, but it's not more really emotional. It's more like the Far Side. You know what the Far Side is?
No.
Okay, I had my favorite cartoon of the Far Side. They were cartoons. And it had a bunch of dinosaurs walking around, and they all had cigarettes hanging out of their lips, and it said the real reason why dinosaurs are extinct. That's the Far Side. A lot of people wouldn't get the Far Side, but you would. If you were to go get a little booklet on the Far Side, you would be hysterically laughing. You know, where she might not. And I'm going to tell you, at some point, you like bathroom humor. You know. Have you ever seen Porky's?
No.
You guys should rent for Porky's. It is extremely bathroom humor, but it's one. I actually had an asthma attack. I was laughing so hard. In fact, the whole audience was laughing so hard they could not hear the people in the movie talk. You know, and it's about a high school, and it's about gym teachers and stuff like that. And there was this one gym teacher that they called her Lassie. The guys did. And the new guy gym teacher said, "Why do you call her Lassie?" "Oh, you'll find out. Come to find out, she wanted to have sex with all the other gym teachers. And she had this real thing for going up to the boys' locker room and smelling their jock straps. It turned her on. And so the other gym teacher went up to see the new gym teacher and everybody's going, wait for it. And so she seduced the new gym teacher. And whenever she was having sex, she would howl like a dog. Oh! And it was ricocheted all over the gym because it was, big. And you would hear this howling. And the guys in the movie were laughing so hard. One guy actually, those pads they put on the ground for gymnastics and stuff, he actually opened it was on the wall, and he actually got on the wall. He was laughing so hard. The audience were laughing so hard you could not hear them talk, and all we heard was a howling. And it was like, so that's why they called her Lassie. But it was that type of humor. I think you'd get a kick out of it. And then there was like teenagers, and the girls all bathed. It was like in the 50s, and the girls all bathed in one great big huge bathing room with the spigots coming down, so they were all together like a whole group of them. And the boys had tunneled under and cut a hole in the wall so that they could watch the girls bathing. And this one guy who thought he was really something or else, he was just, everybody thought he was the bomb, And he started, little girl, would you like to have something nice to suck on? And he puts his penis in the hole. And all the girls are laughing hysterically, and they're yelling, it's like, ah! And this gym teacher who was big and hairy, female, she comes in and she sees the penis hanging there. And she starts grabbing it. And you see the boy go to the wall, and he's screaming. And the whole audience was hysterical. You gotta go get that movie and just watch it. I mean, it's extremely funny.
I feel like she already likes bathroom humor.
Huh?
I said I feel like she already likes bathroom humor.
I know she does. That's why I think she'd enjoy it. I think you might laugh too, but might feel a little uncomfortable. But you know, it's funny. I can't help it. I actually had a full-blown asthma attack. I laughed so hard. Started choking. So, but anyway, so again, what would you like to ask, honey? Just be aware that this is going to go all the way into December of this year and maybe into the new year, February, where doors start opening up for change. That means in where you live, in the way you wear your clothes, your hair, anything, because you're at a closing of a cycle and you're going to be creating new doorways opening for yourself. So maybe that's what I'm supposed to tell you. You might try taking a therapy class or family therapy or psychology. I think you'd be fascinated by psychology. The difference between the two of you, you both would be good at psychology, but you would be good at clinical psychology, like schizophrenia, people who are bipolar, you'd want to help them. It's like, where you don't emotionally analyze them. Okay, you do this, and this, and it will help you get better. Okay, you'd be better at like counseling, family counseling, childhood abuse, therapy, emotional stuff. Okay, you'd want to help their family be happy and stay together. Do you see the difference? Mm-hmm. But you'd be a hot shot. And in fact, you'd be a better psychiatrist than you would be psychologist, because you would go more for the, what can I do to fix these crazies? Type of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be emotional. It'd be clinical. This is what makes you tick. This is what will help you tick better. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's the difference between the two of you, but you're both intellectual souls. So you might think about just taking it as minor. Okay, just for the heck of it. Are you going to go to a regular college or are you going to go to a junior college?
Junior college.
Up here?
Mm-hmm. At FLC.
Yeah. Usually they make you take stuff over and over, like mathematics and English and all that stuff. See if you can do some life experience stuff, so you won't have to take all those silly courses,
So
Did you get good grades in your high school?
I've generally gotten good grades until I didn't care anymore.
She was
Until
very,
you
very
did what?
Till she decided
To
not care.
Yeah.
That you did not care?
When she tries, she's extremely smart and can do very well in school.
That's not why she did it. You cared too much, but you thought you were going to fail. Okay? Number 2, it's an easy way to get attention. When you work with kids, and you were a kid, okay, there's a saying, any attention's better than none. If I can't get the positive, I'll get the negative. And that's what you did. Because when you were negative attention, see, honey, you were always supposed to be the responsible child. You were always supposed to be the golden child. Always do the right thing. In reality, that gets a little tiring after a while. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And you still weren't getting very much attention. So when you did some of the negative stuff, you got a lot of attention. It's actually a higher fix. It's a higher energy fix when somebody's mad at you than it is when they're loving you. Because they expected you to do the right thing. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So when you screwed up, it's like you got a lot more attention. It might not have been a positive attention, but it was attention. And so now you've grown past that, and what you do is you want to be, it's not so much that you want to be somebody, it's that you want to take care of yourself. Does that make sense? You are somebody, and I think you know that somewhere, even at 20. Okay, but you want to be, you don't want anybody to take care of or have to take care of you like your parents. And what's weird about that, the two of you, is you both have drive. And what's really weird about that is 80% of people in your age level don't even want to leave home. They don't want a job. They don't want to go to school. They want all the adult privileges. They want mommy and daddy to take care of them. There is 80%, 70% of grandkids being raised by grandparents today. Because nobody wants to work, nobody has any drive. They just want to play games and stuff like that. You two have drive. So I think you'll go far. But I really think that right now you haven't got a clue what you really want to be. Because when you get that little degree under your belt, well, I'm a business graduate. then you're going to go, now what? Okay? And what is really important is that you work continuously with people while you're going to school, because that's where you'll learn how to be a good business person. When you treat people, I got so mad the other night, I was really pissed off. I'm 70, I broke my tailbone in half and never grew back. I've got a bulging disc and a pinched nerve in my sacroiliac, and I damaged my kneecap where the cap keeps falling off. So, well, that's because I was trying to pick my husband up, and he was sliding down, and I fell on one knee so he wouldn't fall, because he was totally paralyzed. And he was a big guy. You know, but anyway, I kept thinking I was 35, so I could do all this stuff, and now I can't. So I have to have a scooter when I walk on cement floors, and if I'm going to go shopping. And I asked this young man at Walmart the other night, and he was like what I would call a surfer boy. You know, I'm just so great. You know? And I said, could you please call somebody to see if there's somebody could go out and look for a scooter, because I can't do my shopping unless I'm on a scooter. And he said, no, I can't. He said, there's somebody out there already. I said, no, there's not. I said, I just came in, number one. And number two, I've been watching here for 15 minutes and nobody's bringing any shopping carts or scooters in. But clients are bringing in scooters. So I'd like somebody to go out and see if they can find me a scooter. He refused. So finally I went over, and there was a guy who had a scooter, and he was at that self-help thing, and he was leaving, and he only had one little thing. And I said, are you using that scooter? And he said, no. And I said, can I use it? And he said, fine. And this guy looked at me and laughed at me. And I said, you are an obnoxious kid. I said, you know what? You'll never get far when you treat people like that. I said, you're very obnoxious. I went over to a supervisor and talked to her about him. And I said, you know, I've taught a lot of kids how to deal with business and how to deal with clients, not numbers. And I said, he is one of the most obnoxious people I've ever met. Daddy must have a silver spoon in his mouth, because he doesn't care. You know, he's probably working because I said to. You know, but, and she said, yeah, we've had other people comment about it. And I said, he has the phone right here. He could have called up somebody to go get a scooter. And she said, I know that. She said, I'll talk to him. She said, I'm really sorry you had to deal with that. It's real interesting that you guys don't train your employees anymore, and they used to at Walmart. But, you know, if I see somebody doing a really good job, I tell them they're doing a really good job. I see somebody who was like him, I tell them, you know, because I believe that if you don't get told that you're doing really good, you're not going to believe in yourself. If you don't get told you're doing really bad, like you're being an obnoxious human being, you're going to continue to do it. So I think you two will already know how to do business. Maybe taxes will help. It'll help you with taxes. But I think you'll already know how to do a business. But I think it's good to go to school, because both of you you constantly have to stimulate your brain, both of you. Otherwise you'll go into emotional decline. And if you ever worry about dementia or Alzheimer's, that'll do it. If you stop using that brain and you stop stimulating it, guaranteed you could go into dementia easy. I'm of the opinion that's what it's about. When people retire and they decide that they don't have to do it anymore and they don't stimulate their brain and their intellectual souls, they usually are down with can't remember, foggy, and then dementia. You know, honey, I don't want to scare you about cancer, okay, because I believe the two of you can get down to 5%. Where you have maybe 5% chance of cancer. You just have to begin to nurture yourself. And if I were you, I'd nurture yourself early, both of you. Tell me who you are. Sabrina, I want you to tell me who you are.
What do you mean?
Who are you? Let's ask her. Who are you?
I don't know.
Not at all. Who are you?
Are you wanting qualities of myself?
No, I'm just asking who you are.
I guess I'm Sabrina. Lovely.
You know what's interesting about that? You're one of 4 people in thousands upon thousands upon thousands I've ever asked that question. Usually they'll say, I'm a good person, I'm a caring person, I'm a mom, I'm a dad, I'm a worker, I go to school, you know, all these labels. And that's what women usually become, is a whole conglomerate of labels. Taxi driver, bottle washer, nurse, you know, where you have to care for your kids. I'm a mom, I'm a worker, da 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 da. And usually they put in a kind and compassionate person. But every single thing is a label that they mention. And labels are what other people paste on you. Okay? So I used to go to a movie once a week when I had all those kids, and I'd just do this. I never knew what the movie was. I'd just go like this all over me so I could wash off. I hate labels because I have a son who's handicapped, and I never wanted him labeled either. In fact, when I used to do criminal justice seminars, and they had this "Hello, I'm" little placard, that you put on your chest. And when I was in a lot of female energy, I said Marilyn Monroe. When I was on a lot of male energy, I said Errol Flynn, which you probably never heard of, but that's okay. He was really cool. All right. Well, in the movies he was cool. He wasn't in real life. He was a child molester, basically. Yeah, pedophile. Do you know nobody noticed it? Not in one seminar. And I've made people maybe put on those labels for 40 years, and I never ever get put my name down because I don't like labels, because I learned a long time ago that we become labels. What everybody thinks we are, that's what we try to become. So you're young enough now that you're only the fourth person in maybe, I've done 50,000 readings, and I've asked a lot of people, especially women, and I've only had 4 people tell me their name, because that's who you are at birth. I'm Rosie. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think it'd be really good for you. But I just want you to know not to be afraid, because you are going to go into a lot of change, and it isn't going to be bad. It's just going to be kind of scary because you do what ifs. What if it doesn't work? What if it's the wrong choice? What if it's a bad decision? What if? What if I can't make a living out of it? What if? And the thing is, let's say you have to move. What if I move and it doesn't work out? What's the worst case scenario? You move back to where you were.
I lose my car.
Not really. Okay, because I have a weird thing that your family would help you somehow.
They would.
Okay, but you'd have to go back maybe to living with mom or something. It's not the end of the world. But intellectual souls are the biggest ones for the monster under the bed types, and their names are all what if. What if? I don't even think of what ifs. I think of, seemed like a good idea at the time. I never thought of that, but I'm not an intellectual soul.
So can I ask you?
Yes, I'm waiting.
So
I can take a drink of water too.
yeah,
Double work here. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if it's just me, but maybe it is just me personally. I have love on my mind a lot, and maybe it's just because that relationship or whatever. Anyway, I would like to know, do you see me getting married happily ever after?
Yeah, when you choose to find out your patterns.
And
Oh,
that's
by the way, it's not just you, honey. It's called female hormones. This is the age where you're getting the strongest in your hormones, your female hormones. And this is the age when people first start thinking about marriage and babies. Unless you're really damaged and you think, if I just had a baby, somebody would love me, so you get pregnant at 16. But it's your hormones. It's natural. It means they're working. Okay? But yeah, you will. You'll be loved greatly. But you got to look at your patterns so you can change them. Otherwise, you're doomed to picking the same type of person over and over and over. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And, honey...
Do you know about the age I would get married?
It's an up for grabs thing. See, here's the thing, what people don't understand is